wonderful participation in the last 5 sessions, and it was well received by all the participants. And this is the last in the session. We are on value-led ERP. And this is just to ensure that every participant get the time to ask their questions to the panelists. And I just want you to make sure that your questions are sent to the host, or you can send the questions directly to Arvind Ramamurthy. And today, I take this opportunity to welcome Mr. Arvind Ramamurthy, Senior Partner at PwC. He will be the moderator for the session. And we do have fantastic practitioners who have done some extraordinary work in their ERP, and that's why they are here with us to discuss on value-led ERP. And on the panel, we have Mr. Sanjay Mishra, Chief Information Officer from L&T Construction. We have Mr. Prem Kiran, Chief Information Officer from Fanuc India. We have Ms. Sujata, Vice President, Core Value Chain, Robert Bosch Engineering. And we have Pawan, Managing Director, Unique West Composites Private Limited. We have Namrata Mehra, Head of the Designs at Godrej Properties. And we are waiting for Dr. Avadut Parab. He's the Chief Information Officer at Parle Agro. And as and when he joins, Arvind Ramamurthy will introduce it to you. Welcome all the panelists. Thank you for your time, what you have taken, and to share your experience with us. And it will be a great help for the participant to understand a different perspective in value-led ERP solutions. And in this digital India era, we are seeing a lot of positive response for all the classes which we have done so far. And I request Arvind Ramamurthy just to give a bit of background for this class, and I want him to take it forward. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, and everyone joined on the YouTube also. So let's hope for the best outcome of this last session on our value-led ERP. Over to you, sir, Arvind Ramamurthy.
Thank you, Mr. Vilas, and thank you everyone to the esteemed panelists for joining this session. Before we start, Arya, Anish just called and said he was not able to join the session, so please just look into this logic. Okay, so before we start, and before I start asking,
I think your voice is echoing.
Okay, I think everybody should go on mute, I guess, so that it doesn't echo. Let's follow the rule where if you're not talking, please go on mute so that the echo doesn't come. Is it okay now? Still echoing? Is it better now?
Arya, check at Delhi.
Maybe if everybody who's not speaking can mute themselves, then the echo will not be there.
Okay, so ask Ashwin, Madam Sujata, and yeah, only two.
Yeah.
Is it okay now?
I think we can continue. It's not as great, but I think.
Sujata, ma'am, if you can maybe mute yourself, then maybe the echo will reduce.
I'm on mute since the start.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So, as Mr. Vilas mentioned about digital India, these days, for any technology-led transformation, the expectation from the board or the senior leadership is about expecting a tangible ROI or value for any technology-led transformation.
No, sir, it's not coming good. It's not at all coming good. It's not audible. Arya?
There is a lot of echo.
Yeah. Is there any echo when I speak?
No.
Yeah, that means it has to be fixed at Arvind sir's level. I think one more system must be working there, sir, around you.
Nothing. There's no other system.
Arvind, you may want to just re-log in and take
Let me do that. Let me do that. Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine. We can't see your face, but it's fine.
It's ironic that sometimes technology like this still gives problem when we talk about a digital transformation. Yeah.
Yeah, value-led ERP.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So as I was saying that these days boards or senior leadership have started asking tangible ROI or tangible benefits on any technology-led transformation, be it ERP or CRM or cloud or analytics, anything. So not just business case for approving this transformation, but also when during the implementation they track and monitor the tangible benefits. Gone are the days where IT strategy used to follow business strategy, but these days technology is an integral part of business strategy itself. So any organization who is considered to be a digital champion, they focus on a layer of ecosystems, which is either a customer ecosystem or a manufacturing ecosystem or a people ecosystem or a technology ecosystem itself. And they not only implement these, but also integrate and manage these together. Also, increasingly, what we are seeing is it's not just process and data, which is important for any digital transformation, but the human or user experience is equally important. So these are some of the topics that we would like to cover in today's conversation. And I want to start by asking each one of you who are leaders in your own right, who have done this kind of transformation, asking you a question that in your own example, in your own experience, can you give me an example of any ERP or any technology-led transformation where you have personally, either you or your organization have delivered, where you have either delivered or attempted to deliver a tangible business outcome as part of this transformation? Maybe we can start with Mr. Pawan.
Hi, good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be on this platform discussing a very critical topic that's relevant to today's day and age. I'm from UniQuest Composites. We manufacture customized GFRP, glass fiber reinforced plastic parts for a multitude of applications. We operate in a very niche space. We are an SME, more small than medium. So we ventured out to implement ERP about 10 years ago, and actually more than that. And our experience was a failed one at the first attempt. So then we kind of reaggregated whatever we wanted to do, and then ventured out and implemented Microsoft Navision. So some of the outcomes that we had targeted, which we actually ended up achieving over a long time period, is we wanted to benchmark and follow a certain set of business processes, right? For a small organization, that's hard to come by. Right? Without a system, even with a system, it's hard to come by. And we were able to do that by using the ERP system that we implemented. We implemented ERP, CRM, actually migrated to Google Cloud very rapidly in a course of about 3 years or so. We're a small team, but nevertheless, we were able to collaborate and do it very quickly. So we were able to integrate all the functions in an organization of ours on one platform, which is very, very difficult. Even in today's age, we did this about close to a decade ago. Even in today's age, it's difficult because some of our peers have still not been able to, larger even competitors, customers have not been able to integrate all the functions in an ERP, right? So this is one of the achievements that we were able to do with our Microsoft partners, ABS. And since we are in a niche space, managing complexity was possible because we had an ERP implemented. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. We have custom-made profiles where the BOM is different. It's different at different times. The routing is different for the same product, depending on the customer's end requirement. Maintaining traceability was a challenge. So, the fundamental advantage was one of the non-technical advantages was that it got the team on board. And on a shop floor, normally people get together and try and get something done. But for a non-manufacturing activity like this, it actually did bring in a lot of bonhomie within the team, and we were all able to carry it off quite well. And I must say that ERP has helped us scale, and we've had the first mover advantage. And most of our customers have appreciated the fact that we were able to implement and actually follow all the processes to its true spirit. So this is just my 2 cents on whatever we've been able to do.
Arvind, you are on mute.
Mr. Sanjay, you manage the technology for one of the largest construction company in India. So any examples, any personal examples where you've been able to deliver any tangible benefit, any technology transformation, not necessarily ERP?
Sure. First of all, thank you very much for having me here. A couple of things I wanted to make sure that we are again in the same page. See, largely in the technologies, there are 3 stages. One is system of records, then system of differentiation, then system of innovation. ERP lies on the base, which is system of record. So an organization after a certain level cannot operate if it does not have a very solid foundation of system of records. Only you can build on top of that system of differentiation or system of innovation. You cannot have those shiny AI, ML, you name it, unless you have a very solid foundation of system of records. Thankfully, for L&T construction, we had some form of ERP going back in 1990s. We have used all sort of technologies to start building those modules of ERP, starting with the finance is always the first module in ERP to get started. So we had close to 30 years of data in one or other format. Now, another beauty of ERP is that since it's a system of records, the data is clean. I mean, I have placed a purchase order, I have created an invoice, I have created a sales order. So the data is clean, and there is no doubt that this data can be wrong, unlike other systems. Getting back to the personal things, what we have done in the past 3-4 years, since we had kind of terabyte of data for past 30 years, just thousands of projects, millions of transactions. Here, we are executing the projects at different locations across geographies, across countries, and we are buying our main objective is procuring material, procuring services. There was no consistency. The same material is being bought by different project under a different name. The same service is being bought by different project under a different name at different cost. What we did that we pulled out entire data for past 30 years. We applied some of the very basic mechanism of ML to categorize the data and create those account codes, if I say, are item codes, to make sure that the same item, we have a benchmark with what is being procured at what price at where. So now if a project site is trying to procure, they have a benchmark. Earlier, there was inconsistency. I think one of the largest thing we have done in the past 3-4 years is that trying to analyze the data, put it in categories, and make it available to the users so that they can use it as a reference point, and henceforth consistency in the saving. It has been a pretty big success, and in fact, it's a case study into itself that what Larsen & Toubro has done and we call it in fact internally something called Conscian, but that is a pretty big success story of how we have used ERP data to streamline our purchasing and procurement.
Thank you, Sanjay. Mr. Namrata, if you want to come in with your perspectives.
I'd be happy to, Arvind. And I lead CSR and sustainability for GPL in addition to my role in design and marketing for their flagship projects in Vikhroli. And while our company has been at the forefront of, adopting ERP services, we have what we call United Information Architecture, which unites a whole host of services for a very large company. What I would want to talk about today is something for which data and ERP solutions are not typically known for. We believe very strongly in sustainability being very quantitative. I really think that initiatives are great, but the one thing that we request everybody in our small team to do is not talk about sustainability in the same breath as initiative as far as they can avoid doing so. The moment you have quantitative data across a whole host of data points, then what you measure, you can fundamentally make an effort to change. So we've been working with, very small boutique firms, and we've set up an enterprise system which is specifically for ESG data. And this covers all our operational sites. We do this for 15 indicators. And one of the other things that I'm sure all of you are at some point grappling with is a host of rating agencies and a host of sort of reporting and compliance data. So what we landed up doing was to put together sort of a system for ESG data that addresses, base hygiene for real estate, which is CRISPy, DGSI, which is the Dow Jones Sustainability Index, Sustainalytics, which is a risk management assessment, which is global in nature, and I'm sure all of companies and the panel has seen their own companies' ratings on a lot of these databases. And to put that together and come up with what we thought were the base 15 indicators. Environmental indicators are very simple: water, waste, emissions, scope 1, 2, and 3, biodiversity indicators, worker welfare indicators. And what's really interesting is the power that good systems can do to somebody on ground. I've been in real estate 20 years, so if you ask somebody at construction to also give you emissions data or sort of what is the emissions of a DG set, let alone the emissions of what he's actually building in, and he has to fill in an Excel sheet and then go email it from a system, and we're not actually empowering people, we're just creating problems for them. So our system, and also built by a young Indian company, it allows that access in mobile where real-time data can be put together. The system follows AI-based rules to parse relevant information so that certain groupings come together. It also in real time allows anybody, and we have different screens. So we sort of encourage healthy competition between geographic zones, on cool things like, are you doing better on emissions this month than you were last month? And may not be terribly sexy, but we find that it does encourage, the person on ground to have incorporated environmental management as a part of a civil engineer's, a MEP engineer, a site architect's role. And these sort of, bring together, and I think Pawan mentioned that these systems have the unique opportunity of bringing people together. I mean, a good, comprehensive, cohesive system will allow for you to see who the best is out there. We recognize young managers, assistant managers, senior executives on sites in terms of the best sort of data quality and veracity across 84 sites across our country, our projects in the country. And we found that small things help. So at the last count, we had about 250,000 unique data points, sort of collated together to create these very real-time dynamic dashboards. And I'd be happy, should any of you on the panel want to know more about what ESG, databases can do at a company level, and we'd be just very happy to contribute to the conversation because we truly believe it's something we're doing. I hope, Arvind, that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Great insights, Namrata, because this topic is very topical now and gaining a lot of importance. So I will take you upon that.
Pleasure.
Sujata, if you can share your perspective on the question what we asked. Any personal example of tangible benefits on any tech-led transformation that you or your organization?
Yeah. Hi all. Am I audible?
Yes, Sujata, you are.
Okay, so nice to be part of this panel today. From Bosch, with respect to Bosch, we are an SAP house, and I think easily 20 years ago, we implemented SAP ECC. And for an organization like ours and with complex architecture, I think people breathe SAP. Without that, I mean, it's just not possible to run the business. However, today, a year ago, I would say, we have started an Bosch digital transformation program. Okay, we are planning to move to S/4HANA, and also we are planning transition to various digital solutions or business processes. Okay. Uh, we are in the initial stages of the journey today. And if you, since we are in the initial stages of the journey, it's hard to predict the tangential business outcomes as of today. However, yes, there are a lot of calculations, and then trying to achieve ROI, all that is there. But whether there is an outcome today, the answer is no. But we are in this direction. Okay. But what have we learned being part of the initial stages of the journey, if you ask me? Like I mentioned, we are a large and complex organization, complex set of business processes, complex architecture. So for us, going big bang or implementing all the change solutions, digital solutions at one go would be a challenge. So we said, no, we will not take a big bang approach. However, we are clear that we take an incremental approach whereby our legacy applications and solutions are replaced with the digital solutions over a period of time. So this is the approach we have adopted. And this means there will be, I see a very smoother transition from the user perspective. And also resistance to change would be minimal because we are taking, it's not that too many changes, but we are going step by step. And also, I would say, in other words, if I have to explain, doing a transition on a running system is highly challenging compared to planning to set up a new set of business processes, digital business processes on a new platform. So keeping all these in mind, we have started our journey on an incremental approach.
Thank you, Sujata. Thank you. Prem, if I may request your thoughts, and then.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for inviting me to share the stage with some of the brilliant people in the industry. Right now I head the IT for FANUC India, and prior to that, I have done several ERP programs for GE appliances. And the role out here for me, FANUC India, is also a digital transformation. But I would like to quote one particular implementation and share the benefits of what we gain from that. The GE Appliances, to set the context, GE Appliances is one of the largest manufacturer of all the refrigerators, cooking products, washing machines in the US market, one of the oldest and largest one. And back in 2014-15, we started the digital transformation. The goal was to replace all the disintegrated or disjoint systems built on legacy technologies. It could be mainframe systems, Visual Basic systems, Java systems, and come out with a strong system of records, which is in Oracle ERP. And there are different streams, one for sales, one for supply chain, one for finance, one for manufacturing, etc. So I was part of the supply chain implementation. And to share the size of that project, supply chain consisted of close to 1,000 suppliers globally, 8 manufacturing plants, and 9 warehouses, close to 200 distribution centers, and millions of customers around US. Now, doing that at that scale was a humongous task. Now, each of these factories run 24/7, 3 shifts in a day, and they roughly make 1 billion worth of products in a year. And you cannot have a downtime in any of these factories because that will impact the production, that will impact the delivery to the customer. Now, each of these factories, they have their own maintenance departments. So these factories have, all type of machines. They have robots, they have test cells, they have pressing machines, they have rolling machines, they have all type of assets or machineries. And each of these machineries need to be maintained for breakdown or periodically, so that the factories never ever sleeps, never ever stops. And each of these maintenance departments, what they have their own inventory, and they have their own technicians, and they do the repair 24/7. What major problem was that each of these factories, 9 factories, even though geographically located together, they never shared resources, either the human resources or these inventories or their suppliers. So if a simple thing like an electrode, factory 1 wants to purchase, he will go to the supplier 1 and purchase it. He will not check whether factory 2 has the same electrode or not, or factory 3 has the same electrode or not. So what we ended up having is huge pile of inventory, which people never had any visibility. Each supplier was quoting different prices at different point of time. There was no common purchase. There was no common price agreements. There was no negotiation happening. Now, with that kind of a challenge, our maintenance budget used to run into hundreds of millions in a year. So our goal was to consolidate the whole thing into a single platform. So we consolidated all the inventory into one with one single item master. Now each factory has a visibility. So if they are running short of material, they will go to his neighbor and borrow from him rather than going and buying. Similarly, the entire purchase function we consolidated and merged with the sourcing function. So in a year, all of them will have a forecast and they will negotiate with the supplier, come out with the best price, because now you can talk in terms of volume and come out with a better price and agree. And the supplier decisions are much more transparent. So we took out the entire person dependent process into more system driven and process driven. At the end, we were able to save approximately 15% on our maintenance budget, which was a huge, again, it was running into millions. So it was a huge saving. So this is one, example which I have personally led. I could see the outcome clearly.
Thank you, Prem. Thanks. That was a great example. 2 more panelists joined a bit late. Let me introduce them. Anish Chandi from Microsoft. He's a senior director with Microsoft, and Mr. Avadut Parab from Parle Agro. Anish, you heard all the panelists talk about tangible benefits on any of the technology transformation, what they have led. Do you want to come with an example in your experience from Microsoft?
Sure. Arvind, thanks first as a place to having me on this panel, and happy to hear different initiatives that that we heard so far, and I'm sure there are more stories that we heard today. I would like to bring about, we're talking about value-led ERP. I would like to give you a little view about what we've done for Luminous, our own a leader in the UPS and inverter space. They've been acquired by Schneider a year back. When Luminous launched an aspirational transformation roadmap, actually to build a new digital core from an innovation perspective, they chose SAP RISE on Azure, which is to move their SAP ECC instance to an SAP S4HANA on Azure. So what we did, and when we were evaluated to be the chosen platform to deploy, the thought that Luminous had was to align two long-term partners, technology partners, which is SAP and Microsoft, under one service level agreement. And this was to boost their integration on operations and technology and procurement at different levels that they had set up. Now, this was to be the base of company's new digital value creation. That was their aspiration that they set up this project for. What we did along the way, while we got them to adopt S/4HANA to run on Azure, a public cloud, and leverage the cloud economics, so to say, we also helped them to develop certain solutions on SAP's business technology platform, on Azure, integrating with tools like Microsoft Teams to leverage. So let me give you a little example of how Luminous kind of adopted it. Prior to this deployment, Luminous sales team, like most of our sales team, used to log into ERPs like SAP or reach out to designated coordinators for finding sales data that they needed. And this was additional effort, and this is the drag on the sales team to be a little blocker, and in terms of the agility required for their business. What was deployed is a sales bot called Sales Cube, which directly took data from SAP, brought it down to the sales teams, the familiar Teams window with a seamless workflows and sales data, so that they can get their data what they need, including the workflow approvals that they had to act on in one screen. That was one deployment that I would like to call out. Of course, the SAP instance that runs in Microsoft, that's the largest. It's a 24 terabyte instance that runs, on SAP for Microsoft. We put that on the public cloud, and SAP also has, for their own instance of SAP ERP, they have moved that to Azure to take the benefit of the public cloud system. So, just happy to share, this story at Luminous on how it has helped to develop their new digital core that they're looking for the future years.
Thank you, Anish.
That answered your question, Arvind.
Yeah, of course you did. We'll come back to you later on some of the cloud aspects. Mr. Avdut, guess you joined a bit late. So the question was, based on your experience on any technology or digital transformation or ERP transformation, any examples of any quantifiable or a tangible benefit that you have been able to deliver or planning to deliver in your organization?
Good evening, everyone. I think, sorry for the late join. There was some technical glitch as usual. ERP implementation, I'll keep it a little short. Most of my...
Mr. Abdul, we're not able to hear you. We suddenly...
Am I audible now?
And now you are audible.
Okay, sorry. Anyway, I'll keep it short. I've been part of maybe 15, 16 life cycle implementation of SAP. Largely, so far the approach in most of my implementation was always a KPI driven, and it is just not for the sake of implementation. Knowing ERP is a transaction system largely, but within the transaction systems, are we overloading the user was always one of the KPI. We should not overload the user. And transformation from the perspective of ERP always has been two areas. One, how does it gives me a visibility? One, two, how does it encompasses the ecosystem? When we say ecosystem, it could be internal ecosystem of beyond integrating with machines and process automation. And the third one is outside your arena, your vendors and customers to get integrated. Now, this is one part of my SAP implementation, which many a time, we just implement the module, but we do not go back to our KPIs and revisit and see that whether the KPIs has been met or not. two examples. One is inventory visibility was one of the most important, because the moment you have a better control on inventory, in all perspective of the movement of inventory, your working capital control can come. And we have seen at least there was our target was in inventory control and better improvement at least by 5%. We could achieve 8 to 10%. Working capital to be down by 15%, what we said it, in terms of days, to move down by 40% of the number of days, which could, we took 6 months post the implementation, but these are some of the key areas which were focused. Now, transaction system per se does not give you the visibility, but you need to have the dashboarding or your whatever BI systems in place in line with the process KPIs. So this one area. The second area of major area of transformation was we moved. We of course we use Azure also as one of the data analytics platform for transforming, drawing the value out of the data. We all those business KPIs which we wanted to measure, we were moved on to the Azure cloud, and today we have seen the value of benefit of that. So these are the major areas. Of analytics is one area. Second is robotic process automation over the most of the SAP process. We automated as many process as you could do it as, and leave only very user centric process where you really need, it's not a repetitive in nature. Most of the subjectivity you leave it to user. So I would like to keep this in a very short way.
Thank you, Mr. Arvind. That was insightful. Since you spoke about data and analytics, let me go to Sanjay Mishra with this question. We all have realized that data is any enterprise's most valuable and irreplaceable asset. And in that context, ability to utilize this data and the cleanliness and the quality of the data is very important. And given an organization like yours, which is very large and which has a lot of data, given the number of item codes and projects that you execute and all that, how does ERP, we all know ERP provides the foundation for this data analytics, but how do we ensure analytics and data-driven culture in the organization? What are some of the specific steps you have taken on this, Mr. Sanjay?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Arvind. So there are two aspects of analytics. One aspect is that we get the data post facto and try to make sense out of it and do analytics. They are in AI ML platforms, are prescriptive, descriptive, that kind of analytics. The second part of analytics is what probably we have found more useful, that the data at the time of transaction. So what we have done, we are using ERP where we are doing 200,000 say vendor, we are trying to process, onboard them and do the life cycle. And then we are procuring, millions of transactions and millions of item codes. So what we are doing, we are providing the data to the user at the time they are trying to use. Suppose there is a buyer, they are trying to procure material. What we are trying to say that you are doing a procurement for this particular project, but you do you know the particular farmwork is available 60 kilometers from here, and that is already available and it can be given to you. Second, what we are trying to do, that when we are interacting with the vendors, when we are trying to process it, we are saying, hey, do you know, has the vendor filed their GST returns or no, because it will become liability. So our objective for ERP and data analytics is that we are trying to provide the data to the user at the time of the use, at the time of doing the transactions. That is one aspect. Second aspect, post facto, we are trying to make sure that the entire data analysis we do a procurement analysis or we do kind of predictive analysis, but that is the second part. The biggest benefit, what I believe we are able to get it, that we are trying to do those small pop-ups or small information to the user before they complete the transaction, because after that it becomes a post facto anyway. That is where I think I find that we are able to drive more value with the users getting the data and some kind of insights at the time of the transactions.
Thank you, Sanjay. Pawan, let me come to you. You are the CEO or MD amongst the technology leaders in this group. So when your IT head or a CIO come and ask you that I want to do this initiative, or I want to do a digital transformation or IT transformation, and I want X crores or X $1 million as a budget, what's your, how do you react? Do you ask for what's in it for the organization? Do you ask for, what's the return I'm getting on this? How do you go about this whole process? It would be useful for the tech leaders here to understand, and even the business leaders actually.
Yeah, you framed it right. I'd first ask what's in it for us, what's in it for everyone else, every other stakeholder who's going to be involved in the transformation. As at the risk of sounding very cliched, you have to transform to perform, right? There's no other option, right? So unless we are able to improve the performance, we're able to benchmark while ensuring that the caveats for the business transformation or change management is followed, which at the core of change management is the people and the environment in which you try to bring about the transformation. I would not give it a go ahead. Right? That's the first part of what you asked me. And value delivery. This is something that that keeps echoing off the walls in our organization more often than anywhere else in our size. I always feel that value is usually overused, but the least understood. Right? I'm sure a lot of the speakers would be aware the textbook definition is value is the difference in the summation of benefits and the summation of costs. Right? And they don't have a linear relationship. Right? So the first question that I ask when anyone comes to me for anything like an approval, I say, what's the value? How are you going to maximize it? Right. Now, costs, it always follows the law of diminishing returns. You can't really chase cost reduction beyond a point. But then you can always look at how you can amplify the benefits with the choice of change that you can bring about. Right. That's on value delivery. And unless and until there is delivery of value to any of the stakeholders, in fact, most of them, then you don't take up that activity. And in a technology transformation, more often than not, there is an incremental delivery of value, right? And business outcomes are very critical. You just follow the Japanese. You don't change anything unless and until it's validated again. Right? I'm a big proponent of the theory of constraints. I believe if you can't increase the throughput through a business process or on a machine or anything, even whether it's ERP or anything else, you don't take that activity up because it's a non-starter, right? One of the speakers was saying, I think Namrata was saying, even goals like sustainability, statutory compliance, all these have to be in the list of outcomes that any CIO or change leader should target. And then I think CIOs or any change leader's responsibility should be to decentralize, democratize decision making, and actually be able to get the foot soldiers to take decisions with data that's meaningful, and you remove bottlenecks. Like the great author Eliyahu Goldratt says, the real bottleneck is actually in decision making, and it's usually stuck at the middle management and the higher management. And I think we should all work towards that. And if digital transformation is taken up, we should address these dimensions. That's my view.
Thank you, Pawan. Those are brilliant points. Value is not just benefits minus cost, beyond that as well. related question, Sujata, I'll come to you because I just want to take up from what Pawan has mentioned. So right now, what we are seeing is the toughest duality, the challenge between cost versus innovation, right? Every organization is forcing towards we should reduce cost, whereas at the other end of the spectrum is that we should spend on transformation or digital or technologies and all that. So how do you see this balancing out? Especially in your case, now you are embarking on a large transformation journey. Was there such a debate as well? Because both are important,
Yeah. Again, am I audible?
Yes, Sujata, you are.
Okay, so cost versus innovation challenge. I mean, we have been facing this, right? It has been there always, and it will be there in future as well. That's from my point of view. And innovation budget have always been impacted by the pressure to cut costs. This is also there. So if we analyze this further, okay, what are the problems with respect to funding for innovation? Okay, from my point of view, I see 2 points. One, compelling business case for the change, and second is ensuring that it is successfully deployed. So these two are very, very important. And if you ask me, what should the leaders focus upon? I would say, first, we need to be very selective, highly selective on picking the right solutions which we want to implement. We should not spread ourselves too thin. So this is basically the vital few. I mean, this is very, very important from my point of view. Second, the most important one, more than the first one, is we need to have a well-defined design and implementation strategy. What we have seen in the past is we have, initially it will be a great idea, there will be a great business case, ROI, everything, but it doesn't work on the ground. It normally fails on the ground. So my view is we should, as leaders, we should focus on well-defined design and implementation methodologies so that there is a success story. So these are the 2 points from my point of view. As leaders, we should focus basically to foster innovation. And we should keep in mind that over time, everything becomes a necessity. Maybe today a digital solution, tomorrow it becomes a basic necessity. Just as an example, bank apps. I mean, if I can quote this, we never saw this or we never knew about this some years ago, but now it's a basic necessity. We all, I mean, it has to be there. We can't accept without that, right? So this is, I mean, keeping this in mind, I mean, innovation budget has to be emphasized upon.
Perfect, Sujata. I completely agree with you. When I was talking to one of the leader in a bank, he was telling that we are more a technology company than a bank right now. That's the
exactly.
of
Yeah, how their apps are functioning. Even I start to compare. Wow, this app is fantastic, and so on. Yeah, I mean, normal human tendency.
Yeah. So let me digress a bit and go to Namrata. Namrata, you are from the business side of it. You are leading sustainability. You've been part of the design organization. And when such a digital or a technology implementation or a transformation happens, for it to succeed, there has to be a seamless collaboration between the technology teams and the business teams. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it does not. But if it does not, it's a recipe for disaster. What's your personal opinion on this, and any specific advice you would give on how it should be? Or
I think it would be presumptuous for me to give advice to this panel, but what I can share with you are some observations on this journey. As someone who is not incredibly technology wise, I mean, just working my laptop and my phone, keeps me on my toes. But we had to, honestly look at why we were doing certain things. And to be honest, at least for us, we didn't need, any budget that was outside business as usual, in the sense that we went on and said that as our company is growing and as our requirements are growing, this has to be something which it is a business need. We never took it as anything beyond business. So, we do have an innovation or a prototype budget, but we kept it out of tech. We said this has now got to be hygiene. And one of the things that we did so is that having data and having data-driven outcomes and data-driven opportunities, we were able to provide, using sustainability, several business cases. To give you a simple example, we're doing a large project, which is, with sister real estate developers across the country, which is a industry project on mapping C&D waste. It's construction and demolition waste. Now you can understand something as aggravating as construction and demolition waste. We're categorizing what constitutes waste, and there's something that's called the mass balance principle, which means if something's coming into a construction site, it either becomes your building or you have to document that waste. You'd be very surprised to find that the last tech paper, and when I say tech, I mean anything coming out of an educational institute or a large corporation like L&T. The last such paper out in the public domain is in 2001. And when we started the process of institutionalizing, getting started with this project, one of the things we found is if we didn't have the backend required to sort of gather the data points and to sort of make sense of it, sure, we could do it on elaborate Excel sheets, as I think most people in business typically land up analyzing data on, but that may not be the best way, and neither would it be scalable. So whether it was, and this is one of the 15 use cases that we took out information from, and what helps professionals such as myself who traverse several domains is to be able to use business cases to make the point of what you are conveying. So whether it is, compliance costs will overall come down, or whether it's using this as an opportunity to say, can sustainability be a horizontal cutting across every individual domain and make the entire company look good, or even, come together and find small budgets. So, we went to our secretarial and our finance teams and said, let's just make an integrated report. And our reports just come out in the public domain on the 7th of July. And all of this is feasible and possible because we have an opportunity of comprehensive systems that unite us together. And I think for any such system to work, you need to be able to solve for use cases. And use cases could be very simple use cases of people who are using the software or the application or the system. They could be business use cases. So we made test screens. And trust me when I say this is the first time I was doing any of it. And I'm sure, with the panel that I'm on, you guys do this as a, daily basis. And here's when the nicest, sort of statement came from the person who's developing it. Said, you tell us the use case. Don't try and understand. I mean, you don't have to understand the tech behind it, but what would you want to see? And what was very interesting for us is to say the guy on site, his job must be simple. The guy who is ambitious, who's a project manager or a PM, should feel the burn and competition of moving up 3 paces so that his daily scorecard's better. The zonal head should know who to pick up the phone and holler. So everything is, beautifully color coded in red, amber, and green, as all dashboards should be. And the what we call the CSO's office screen should tell you where where you are with respect to your scoring. So for example, what do you need to do today so that your next DGSS score or BRISB score could be better? So again, all business applications. So for example, DGSI and BRISB scores are something that foreign institutional investors look at when they invest in a company, which means that the person beyond our chairman who looks at that is our CFO, because he needs a lower cost of capital. So all of these reasons become very fundamentally real business reasons, which is to say that, we are making everything real time. And then telling everybody, and I think one of the panelists mentioned this, and I'm sorry, I can't figure who right now, but democratizing access to data, not holding on to anything close to yourself, and saying that we're in this together. We like to say that we don't have a sustainability team at GPL. All 1,996 people work as part of this team, and you need systems and applications that allow you to actually, make a statement like that, not just aspirational, but something that people can actually deliver in their day-to-day business. And the most interesting screen that we've just closed right now is the chairman's screen, which allows him to see just how far off we are from global benchmarks. So for his screen, it doesn't show, if we've done better or worse, or it just shows who the best in the world is and the gap. So, it was just something that more insights from, just having completed this project over the last several months. And yeah, I hope that's useful.
Yes, fascinating, Namrata. And this gives me a perfect segue to ask a question to Avdut around user experience, right? You covered a bit in your conversation, Namrata. I know focus on large transformations, and any tech transformations have always been on process improvements or data quality, but never on user experience or human-centric aspects, However, there has been increasing demand these days focusing on user experience. So, Avdut, if you're there, your personal
I
thoughts
just
on this?
put off my video.
No problem. Your personal on the same?
I'm audible. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Okay, so when we look the project from the user experience, which is very, very important today's condition, is look at there are 2-3 areas which are very, very critical. One, definitely user experience brings a simplicity. Why simplicity is required? Because in today's world we do not have a time to train the users, and you really, an organization can't keep spending on it. Has to be self-learning kind of approach. So user experience does take into consideration simplicity. It also looks at when by simplicity is with minimum clicks or minimum with data, I will get maximum output of mine. So that's the area. The third one is the speed at which, because the minimum input you give it, how much faster you can get it. So user experience today is definitely performance, definitely simplicity, and the way you how fast you can give the so when you and user interface, user experience today, if it has to be by design. If you don't consider in part of implementation today, the adoption does not happen, because the real success of the project is not when you're implementing, but post implementation. And the adoption people are today, and it is influenced today by the apps which you see, whether it is Netflix, whether it is the Amazons of the world. So today people and users have started demanding why we cannot do such simplified application or simplified mobile app or screens of it. So these are these user behaviorals are coming to today from the experience which they get it today in the consumer world, or today when the consumerization of IT is happening at the rapid pace. So you can't today ignore it. If you may say that I may have a less functionality, but you can't say that I do not have a better experience today. Let's take the example of SAP. When today user sees the SAP screens, they do not like to even say that no, this is not the screen we wanted. Hence, if you look at it, SAP HANA today, people go with a Fury world. Why? Because just only it brings that kind of experience for it. So third part I would like to bring from the user experience perspective, I may be using a different form factor today, whether it is tablet, whether it is laptop, whether it is mobile. Whatever I do there, it should be, and when I switch on to my laptop or tablet, it has to be now these are some of the it's not expectation, it has become a new normal today. It's no longer so if you today look at the ERPs of the world, or any of the new generation ERPs, they are already aligned to it. And if you today, new generation, if you give the older ways of looking at it, it's not success. So this has become a critical success factor for any of the transformation what you want to do it today. So these are my views about it. You can't even ignore. Forget about ignoring. You have to take it as a part of design.
Thank you, Abdul. Thank you. Thanks a lot for your response. Prem, coming to you. No panel on digital transformation or technology transformation is complete without asking about a question on cloud. So since you are leading something around digital, here is a question to you on cloud. Cloud is almost becoming an integral part of any transformation these days. However, in India at least, and I may be wrong, but I would like to be corrected. The move to cloud is still slow. Even in organizations which are embarking on this journey, it's more a cost play than a value play. And it's more of an infra refresh. What's your view? Will this change? And maybe Anish, since you work on the cloud, you could also come in after Prem's response on this.
Yes, I totally agree with you. And I know I can personally see some of the examples. It is considered to be a infra refresh activity. How things are changing. So basically, people consider, okay, my server or this box in my server data room is reaching an end of life. Okay, now let me take that into cloud. So it is seen more of a server refresh. And I think it is primarily because one is the awareness. Second is also the frugal mindset what we have. And it's a great thing to have. Unlike in the Western where they splurge money on tech and investments, we are very, very cost conscious or value driven. And so we want to make sure that if I have invested in certain servers or some boxes or infrastructure a few years ago, I want to make sure that I extract the maximum value rather than just jumping into the cloud journey. Okay, but I can tell you things are changing. Things are changing. For example, in my case, we have a Avaya call center solution, which is used extensively by our service department. And this serves both for voice as well as for emails. But what we realized is the capability of Avaya for emails is very, very limited, very, very primitive. So users were finding it difficult. And we looked at alternatives, we could shortlist many, many solutions in cloud which are superior, 3 times, 4 times superior. And we shortlisted Zoho Desk and implemented. And 15 days flat with zero customization, we could implement it. And it is loved by the customers now. So there are superior products available in the cloud and business is realizing it. Another big shift going to change is now, I know, primarily the Indian manufacturing companies are SAP shops. Now, SAP is offering Rise, the new platform, which is completely on any hyperscaler. Could be Azure, it could be. So now, when people are going for HANA upgrade, the primary option given is Rise, which is a private cloud or a private cloud edition. So that is also another advantage what we are getting. Third aspect here is that in India, we were not very keen on having a proper BCP, business continuity plan, or a disaster recovery plan. Now everybody thought, okay, I'm okay to have few hours of downtime. Why to invest so much creating a copy of my entire data center in a different city, unless you are a big conglomerate. So for small and medium enterprises, BCP and DR were never a priority. But with the security threat, COVID, working from home, all that coming into play, things are changing. So now, why to invest few crores and build a BCP DR platform? Rather, I would put it on cloud, where I get almost 100% availability and backup and business continuity. So these are the primary vectors which are driving the businesses to change and look at cloud. One from a features technology, more solutions available in the cloud, shifting from a capex to an opex model. Second, availability perspective, and third, the advanced technologies are all coming up in cloud. So I think the adoption is definitely slow, but things are changing.
Well, if I can add to
Yeah,
Prem and the other speakers, right? Definitely cloud does, if you see India, it started off gradually 10 years back. And, pandemic actually has pressed that accelerate button, whether, some parts of the industries were a little slow, but pandemic really allowed that to accelerate. Apart from, the very basis of making CapEx, OpEx, I think the important part cloud plays is also on future-proofing technologies. Let me give you an example of where high-performance computing and AI, right? That's really the area where a lot of innovation and pace is happening. And in terms of GPU systems. Now, this is where the cost economics really play out, because today you buy, in the past you buy the hardware on-prem. 11th generation to 12th generation moves out, outdated in a year or max 2, and you're stuck with the hardware for the next 3 to 5 years. And definitely cloud, helps you to future-proof your investments and utilize the power of hardware and software that you can bring it together. So that, definitely out there. But if you also look at the other place that cloud helps, and in this case, what Prem alluded to, right? Systems like SAP RISE is helping for a customer not to just bring their core ERP data onto one place, but also the non-ERP data to come together. And cloud can actually harness the data with real-time insights coming out from them. And as I said, in the case of Luminous, bring those data into systems like Teams or any other chat solutions more seamlessly, so that the end user sees one screen, right? While Microsoft is the largest user of SAP globally, me and my colleagues, a lot of them have never seen a SAP screen. I've been here for 10 years, never seen it, right? Because in the past, it used to be parsing into Excel sheets. And as technologies like Teams came in, every approval that I have, whether it's an expense approval or it's a hiring approval I make, everything happens on the same team screen as an activity tagged to me, so that I know what do I have to keep track on. And this is a combination of bringing that system of records, as alluded by a speaker earlier, and the other data that's out there to make collective decisions. So definitely, cloud is real. We've seen customers across industries, so not just manufacturing, but healthcare, education, government, adopting it. Yes, cloud also helped banking and fintech to really take advantage of the innovations happening on the software, which otherwise was not available as a service first. It had to be built or bought and then adopted to their needs. Today it's available as a service. So that was my take, Arvind, on how cloud is accelerating businesses in India.
So, since Anish, you are from Microsoft, representing the ERP or a product vendor ecosystem, I would like to end this conversation with a question to you. You've been there, ERPs have been there for 40, 50 years. How do you see yourself as being core to the digital transformation? What are some of the changes that you as product companies are doing? What has changed basically?
Sure. So let me take an example of how we partnered with SAP, right? They've been there for 30, 40 years. And the last 30 plus years, we have had a very firm partnership. And this partnership is based on how an optimal solution is provided, a trusted and a seamless solution is provided. Now, as an example, we build joint roadmaps, and roadmaps and innovation are by design. It's not accidental, right? Now, how it's driven, we have co-located developers, so that in Germany, where we have a group of 150 Microsoft employees sitting out from a SAP's facility and developing these connectors and roadmaps, and how does different elements of hardware and software can come together to deliver that differentiation, which the last few years it's a cliche statement on what we call digital transformation. And as I said earlier, it's about bringing together what is called the lightning fast digital economy, right? And if you were to really bring that to reality, you need systems to coexist. So we are building connectors, like, for example, we have an Azure data factory that connects S4HANA system to other, let me call it Power BI, right? A visualization tool, or Teams, which is a real-time communication tool together. So that's the way we have seen how ERP systems are definitely core to the business, the core application. But there are, 3 years back, we would say core banking is all what any bank in India would care about, right? That's like even email could be down for 5 minutes, but not the core banking or an ERP system. But today we have got surround applications as important, because those applications came because business needed it, and they have become as much core. When we started moving email systems in Microsoft to like Office 365 10 years back, said, okay, email is not critical. And I'm sure all of us in this call can bet with me saying that yes, email is critical. We can't have any more downtime. Similarly, the system availability has gone beyond the ERPs and core banking systems to also the surround application, because together it delivers value for the customer or its end customer. And today we can't afford to being left behind. So we continue to partner with companies like SAP and build a solid roadmap, and that's as I told in my first example of Luminous, we offer that private link service called the BTP service, where we build bots to bring data out from the SAP system directly coming into Teams. So that's how we are looking at it, Arvind, and everybody on the call.
Brilliant. Thanks, Anish, and thanks everyone for brilliant insights and engaging conversation. Just to summarize, we said that any technology-led transformation, be it ERP or any technology-led transformation, there has to be a tangible ROI. Value is paramount. We said that. We said for any successful implementation, seamless collaboration between business and technology is essential. We talked about, it's not just process and data, but user experience and human-centric experience is not important. It's hygiene now. Without that, no transformation can happen. And finally, technology implementation to be successful, it does not fail because of technology itself, but people are an integral part of any successful transformation. So these are some of my key takeaways from this conversation. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for your time as well. And looking forward to future conversations with you all.
Thanks for having us today.
It was an interesting panel discussion. Thank you, everyone. Hope to reconnect sometime.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you.
Thank you all.